Good evening, Dr. Chaturvedi.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Dr. Chaturvedi. Good evening, Pragya.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
A very good evening, Dr. Noor Khan. Thank you so much for joining.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Professor Agarwal, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, namaskar.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir. Namaskar, sir.
नमस्कार शांति, कैसे हो?
बस ठीक है सर, आप कैसे हैं?
बस fine, thank you.
Dr. Khan is also here. She has also joined, our assistant manager.
Okay, नमस्कार मैडम. Dr. Noor Khan मैडम, नमस्कार.
I think she's not here. So we can start, Dr. Rai.
Okay. Should I start?
Yes, please.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Economics Department, Awadh Girls Degree College, I welcome our learned guest, Professor M.K. Agrawal, Ms. Zareen Vekaji, President, Awadh Girls Degree College, Dr. Upma Chaturvedi, our principal, Dr. Dean of the college, faculty, and dear students. It is indeed an honor to have Professor Agrawal, an eminent economist with us today, who is the head Department of Economics, University of Lucknow. He is also the Director of Population Research Center, OSD Institute of Management Sciences, and Director, Institute of Development Studies, University of Lucknow. He has been awarded the Commonwealth Academic Staff Fellowship of UK government. He has also worked in different countries like US, UK, Sri Lanka, Thailand, France, etc. in different capacities. He has authored 13 books and published numerous papers in various national and international journals. Once again, I extend my warmest greetings to Professor Agrawal, and now I invite him to share his views on paradigm shift in the UP economy. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Shanti, for your kind words. And when we are discussing about Uttar Pradesh economy, let us discuss something about non-economic factors. Because in Uttar Pradesh economy, non-economic factors quite often impact economic variables a lot. For example, I mean, this should be taken as a footnote before I come to the core of our discussion. We are the largest state. I'm not saying in terms of the area. Even I'm not saying that in terms of the population size, because it's it contributes 1/6 of the nation's population, although it doesn't have that much share of the land. In terms of contribution to Parliament, Lok Sabha, it is contributing 80 seats, quite sizable. And if you look historically, we have largest number of prime ministers from Uttar Pradesh since independence till now. But what happened? Did it help us? I mean, I'm not concluding anything. I'm just putting a point before our, students and colleagues. And I know that I'm speaking among the very, learned audience and learned colleagues like Dr. Upma Chaturvedi ji, principal of the college, and I know somehow Dr. Nishi Pandey, who is my senior colleague, might be having some feeling that what I have spoken here. So definitely she will considering me tomorrow. So what is in fact there that are these variables helpful to us? I mean, this is to be thought of. We have so many things with us, but still we have one thing common among us, that is Uttar Pradesh has never been a developed state. Uttar Pradesh does not have any potential to grow. Uttar Pradesh can never grow. And Uttar Pradesh is backward among all Indian states in all variables. Whatever variables we are having, it is always backward. So if this is the situation, what happens? If this situation persists among the people of the state, is it good? Does it sound well? I'm giving everyone knows that Uttar Pradesh is backward. I start from here, but let me tell you, it is not. It has never been a backward state. For example, many of our students, those who are born in the economic reforms era, that is after 91, they never think to see in the 1950s. They see that it is a very old days for us. Why should look there? No, we should look sometimes. It is not very old history. It is the the recent past. In the 1950s, early 1950s, per capita income of Uttar Pradesh was higher than per capita income of India. Look here, this is the issue. We started with a positive note, and that was the time when industrialization did not start. That was the time when no policy interventions were there. Just we were planning to have the policy interventions to initiate the modern type of development. And look at the type of development that we had over a period of time. We started industrialization. I'm just reminding it here because a large number of students are here and they have a very different perspective and a very negative perspective. So that's why I'm just reminding them that our history never has been as bad. Even our present is not as bad. The issue where there is something required to be hauled up, that is to be spotted. In 1950s, late 1950s, we started the process of industrialization. And that has been the process of industrialization initiated by the government of India in a very different mode. No country around the world went for such type of model of industrialization. And from here onwards, the inequalities started increasing. How it started increasing the inequalities? Inequalities in terms of interpersonal inequalities, inequalities in terms of sectoral inequalities, inequalities in terms of spatial inequalities, that is among the states, among the regions around the country or within a state. So that was the case that Uttar Pradesh started lagging, but Uttar Pradesh continued to contribute for the national economy. How it has been contributing? One thing that we must have experienced recently during the COVID period, that we have been supplying to the country in terms of manpower. And this manpower has been initially unskilled, semi-skilled, but nowadays it is the skilled. I'm telling you how you will be, surprised with some lighter note. Election Commission of India has 3 members. All the 3 officers of Election Commission of India are from Uttar Pradesh, are UP cadre, right? Similarly, you will find in terms of the IAS or in terms of anything around that, whether it is in terms of the teaching faculty, you will find that the manpower from Uttar Pradesh has been serving the country with contribution to different states, whether it is the teaching, whether it is the research, whether it is the administration, whether it is the polity, or whether it is arts, whatever it is, you will find that Uttar Pradesh has been contributing to the national economy. There has been food shortage in the country, and it started with the 50s. I told you now, the moment we started a type of model in the 50s, it started inequalities, and worst symptom was in terms of the food shortage. Ration card system was initiated around that time. It is for the information of the students. And by mid 60s, it has been very unbearable problem. And what happened, this inequality resulted, not only the crisis to the farm sector, rather it resulted in the crisis to the industrial sector and overall Indian economy. It is during this time period that Uttar Pradesh contributed by taking the lead in terms of Green Revolution strategy application in the state. Initially, it was in the Western UP because it has been adjacent to Punjab and Haryana, where it was started altogether. Later, what happened? Uttar Pradesh has been producing surplus food grains. And now, what is the challenge? Uttar Pradesh has been contributing the largest share of food grains to the country. And the states like Gujarat, states like Maharashtra, which are, considered to be industrialized states, or some other states, we are providing food grains to them because we are having surplus food grains. And that's why, Uttar Pradesh has been blessed with the title of food bowl of the country. It is not the Punjab which is contributing the largest to the country. It is Uttar Pradesh that has been contributing the largest share. But what has been the gain for Uttar Pradesh? No, it has not been the gain for Uttar Pradesh. Rather, it has been a type of pain for Uttar Pradesh. You know why it has been so? Some reason, only partial explanation I am offering you here at this point. Because this surplus of food grain should have been used by the policy makers of that time, whether it is the Uttar Pradesh government or it has been the government of India. They should have jointly made a proper strategy that this surplus food grains is turning in terms of favor in terms of favor to the or gain to the farmers. No, it did not happen. The larger the production in Uttar Pradesh, more pitiable the situation for the farmers in Uttar Pradesh. I am talking specifically for Uttar Pradesh. So, I mean, it has been rarest of the rare of the type of, outcome that when production is being increased, these problems are being solved by Uttar Pradesh, but Uttar Pradesh is slipping into greater miseries. This has been the challenge to Uttar Pradesh. I call it as the missed opportunity of Uttar Pradesh. First missed opportunity was that when Government of India initiated the process of industrialization, Uttar Pradesh was ignored. Although it has been the largest state, although it contributed to the country in terms of prime ministers, but still Uttar Pradesh was ignored in terms of investment for particularly the public sector. When public sector investment was not there, how could you think that those days private investment would be there? So this has been the first missed opportunity for Uttar Pradesh. And second missed opportunity has been in terms of uh, missing the linkage between the surplus food grain production or food grain production and economic growth in Uttar Pradesh. This has been the situation. I mean, maybe it sounds, somewhat bizarre that when production is increasing, why farmers were suffering? For the simple reason, farmers were not getting the remunerative price since beginning itself. Even though the Agriculture Price Commission came into existence in 1965, but it was not much help to the farmers. For several reasons, we cannot discuss other things here, but for several reasons, Uttar Pradesh could not benefit out of it. This has been the challenge. And definitely, if it could not gain because of the gain in food grain production, for the simple reason that there was lack of policy on the part of the government of India as well as government of Uttar Pradesh to translate this surplus into an opportunity for Uttar Pradesh in terms of industrialization, in terms of enhanced income to farmers, in terms of greater employment opportunities within the state. So it was this stage. Gradually, this green revolution expanded, and it expanded to eastern Uttar Pradesh as well as the central part of Uttar Pradesh, but of not of much help. Larger the production, and one thing more happened. It has been further loss to the state because this lack of linkage between agriculture and industry resulted in miseries in the farm sector as well as in the rural economy, because gradually MSME sector was finding space for out exit. So the result, greater pressure on farm sector, and that's why marginalization of the farm sector in Uttar Pradesh is highest. And this shows that there is a type of disguised unemployment. Now it is more open unemployment, but it has been disguised unemployment. Again, it started increasing. Those students who have been, studying what is disguised unemployment, now they can see how this was increasing. This was increasing, and one evidence is increasing marginalization of the farm sector. That is, average land hold size was declining, number one, and share of marginal farmers was increasing. It was another thing. And Uttar Pradesh has the largest share of marginal farmers and landless laborers also. That's why engulfed in a different type of polity where everyone wanted, गरीबी हटाओ, बेरोजगारी हटाओ, क्योंकि हटाना नहीं है, हट गए तो गरीब और बेरोजगारी कहाँ जाए, फिर तो खत्म हो जाएगा खेल. तो it changed the course of polity also in Uttar Pradesh, and this is not discussed like this in other rich states. So this is one evidence. Now when 1980s came, Uttar Pradesh started doing pretty well. In terms of growth rate, there was some acceleration in growth during the 1980s. And industrial sector was also somewhat in showing a better output, large investment, but this process could not be sustained further. Now came 1991. And when 1991 came, this model of liberalization, privatization, and globalization, no doubt, it lifted the growth rate at the national level, but it created much divide. Anyone can find that after 91, inequalities in the Indian economy further widened. It further increased. Inequalities further increased. Again, I will say whether it is regional or spatial, that is among the states or among the regions, among the people, and among the sectors. And you will notice as process of economic reforms moved further, the marginalization of farm sector across the states was getting worse. And Uttar Pradesh has not been much exception. One thing more happened. Why I said globalization? Otherwise, I would have simply said economic reforms. There was a reason to say and emphasize upon globalization. The globalization has negative impact on UP economy to a larger extent. How? It went to the states where there was a better infrastructure. I mean, foreign investment largely went to the states where infrastructure was better. And Uttar Pradesh has not invested on infrastructure, or the central government did not pay attention to UP economy for this very purpose. अब आप देखिए साहब, backwardness. Of 91, after 91, there has been a different type of model, that is open economy, privatization, means investor and greater emphasis on private investment. So investors would go where they find better investment opportunity. Definitely UP was not there in their list. How? Our social sector was backward. Infrastructure was very backward. Governance has been one of the worst in Uttar Pradesh. So why should private investment come here? Another reason was that public investment has also been very low. Generally, what happens if there is an increased public investment? So private investment comes there, and private investment finds space to invest, right? So that did not happen in Uttar Pradesh. And you will find for initial 3 decades, growth rate of UP economy has been better than the Indian economy. After that, UP economy's performance has been consistently poor till 10th plan or 11th plan, and the worst for UP was in the 8th plan, 9th plan, and 10th. There has been some, improvement in 10th plan, but again, it has been the worst. 8th plan was 92 to 97. 97 to 2002 was the 9th plan. 10th, then 11th, then we stopped at 10th. So 90s has been the worst year, worse than the 1960s. And you'll find quite amazing that whatever could have been done for Uttar Pradesh, well, see, now you'll ask me, you're saying that UP has something very good. Yes, you something very good. Here, organized crime has been very low as compared to states like Maharashtra, as compared to states like Andhra or in other states, right? Here, petty crime has been higher, not the well organized crime. Did you hear anything like, Bombay, now Mumbai? That is the capital of organized economic crime in India. Still, there is the largest investment there. It is known as the financial capital of India. So, Uttar Pradesh somewhat better. We have cheaper labor. Skilled labor is also available, right? And one thing more, and across the party this applies. What is that thing? Our budgetary measures are our financial has been much better than developed states like Punjab, Maharashtra. Ours has been much disciplined because we have been having, surplus in the revenue account and other measures. If we are looking into the budgetary provisions, we find that we have improved our budgetary measures. I mean, more disciplined budgetary measures we are having as compared to other states, particularly the developed states. It means we have the capacity, we have the inclination, and this has not been to one party, this has been to all the three major political parties now in Uttar Pradesh, right? So it applies. I mean, there is a type of political consensus to maintain the fiscal discipline in Uttar Pradesh. So this is lacking elsewhere, whether Maharashtra, whether Punjab, whether Haryana, or other states, even Tamil Nadu. So this way, Uttar Pradesh has been blessed to have the political leaders. Yes, definitely one weakness of our political parties in Uttar Pradesh is they never meet each other. Like the southern, this is the problem. In the southern states, parties, although they are the worst enemies, they never, made coalition with each other, but still for the cause of the state, they go together, they unite and represent to the central government for the resources, for the welfare of the state. So this has been there, and gradually we have been, slipping in terms of the social infrastructure, in terms of economic infrastructure, and more than that, perception of the state among the country. We had better in good things, but still we were very hesitant to project ourselves as a good state to invest. But we find gradually that, and before I'm coming to that point, one thing further I would like to say. It is this, that people had lost hope that Uttar Pradesh can ever develop also. Can Uttar Pradesh meet transformation? Is there potential in Uttar Pradesh? I ask such, critics of Uttar Pradesh. I'm not asking the critics of the different. What is lacking in Uttar Pradesh? Is the potential it is lacking, or it is the commitment of different governments that has been lacking? These are the two different issues. We are having the best of the tourism spots in the country. We have potential of the largest, tourism centers in Uttar Pradesh. Nowhere around the country it is like that. But Uttar Pradesh across the states, best part of Uttar Pradesh is what? Across the states, we have the potential. Another, good part of Uttar Pradesh, unlike Rajasthan, is it that the cost of investment per lakh population investment for infrastructure development, particularly the connectivity, roads, railways, airways, the cost is lowest in Uttar Pradesh because it's populated. I mean, sometimes if you are having some negative things, that can be utilized to your benefit, but we did not visualize that type of thing. For example, a Purvanchal Expressway is built up, right? I'm not going how many kilometers. It is for you to, find out through Google. Just search what is the length of this road and just search what is the, population covered through this. And we can, with this length of road, same size of population or same intensity of population can be covered in Rajasthan? No, that cannot be done. Similarly, for electrification, the cost of electrification in Uttar Pradesh is much lower than the cost of electrification in Jammu Kashmir, in Madhya Pradesh, definitely in Rajasthan, or elsewhere. So we have the relative advantage, right? We have the relative advantage in terms of the rivers flowing across Uttar Pradesh throughout the year. Southern states don't have this type of privilege. They are fighting for the drinking water, and we, so, what we are finding it here, we fail to understand this type of relative cost advantage of investment in Uttar Pradesh. We always, lamenting that, Uttar Pradesh is backward. But when it comes to investment, who should educate? It is the role of the state government and definitely of Union Government of India. They should tell that invest in Uttar Pradesh. It is also part of India, because here the cost of investment is much lower. Rather, the return is higher in Uttar Pradesh. But we did not earlier. Now we are doing it. Now look at it. Another thing that I want to say, you'll say that I'm saying in a very paradoxical manner. Uttar Pradesh is blessed now. See, again, I say, when you have the adverse situation, you should capitalize on it, right? Why should you say that, if I'm having COVID, I will do nothing? You can do something, whatever you can do at home. Similarly, Uttar Pradesh had the largest stock of poor people. And who are the best contributors of economic growth globally? Not the America, not the Europe. It is the poorer states who have been contributing more. And this was realized by the recent government. And because raising the income of poor people is much easier than raising the income of richer people. How? Very easy to increase the household monthly income from 5,000 to 10,000, means doubling the income of the poor households, than raising the income of ourselves. It is not possible so easily, or much more than those who are much better off than us. Their income cannot be doubled so easily. And you see, that's why how much money it took to saturate Uttar Pradesh in terms of in-house toilets, in terms of electrification of villages and electric connection to the house, every households in Uttar Pradesh, in terms of basic health facilities. I mean, look from the economic angle, don't look from political angle, and look at the LPGs. You find that Uttar Pradesh could not reduce its IMR earlier as much as it has reduced the IMR because of in-house toilets, because of the electric connection to the households, because of the sanitation, because of the better village infrastructure. You just talk to PhD people, doctors. They will provide information that why it is happening. You would not have seen in the last every now rainy days. Every you find last because of diarrhea, right? Because of so many things, much larger number than the deaths caused by corona, but it went unnoticed. Why? It has been a perennial problem. Why to report? Why to know? But nowadays, because of the combined pool effect of LPG in-house toilets, right? Electric connection, electrification of villages, drinking water supply, and Pakka Makan. Status of women and children have increased manyfold. And here lies the scope for further research and investigation into this, type of argument, whether it is validated through research or not. But whatever preliminary data that we are gathering, it is leading to much better social infrastructure, right? So these are the issues that require to be handled. Uttar Pradesh now has much better infrastructure, whether it is the road, whether it is the state highways, whether it is the central highways or expressways. Uttar Pradesh now has the largest or longest of the expressways in India. Although its share in the you can say area is only 7% of the country. So this ways, whether it is railways, much better infrastructure now. Across the states in another 6 months, you can reach in 3 to 7 hours. Earlier, it was not like that. And we earlier ignored the tourism potential. Tourism is one such sector of the economy that has much larger impact on poverty removal and employment generation. If you want to see it, you can see from the experience of Spain. You can see it from different countries that how they have successfully. You know what is the much gain for the Europe? All Indians want to visit Europe. Isn't it tourism? What is giving them the better revenue? That everyone wants to visit America, everyone wants to visit Europe. So they have been promoting tourism. So if we can promote tourism through this, but I don't mean that everything has been done. No, still there is a much to be done. And if that is done gradually, but one thing keep in mind, why I am appreciating this, because it has been done in a very quick manner. If you are spreading your cheese too thinly, then its taste and its benefit would not be that much. So it should be big push effort, and that is visualized here. What is lacking? Now you will ask me, everything is good? No. There is one gap, major gap. This gap for me appears just like it was in the 60s when the farmers produced surplus food grains. Similarly, we have surplus of infrastructure, surplus of social infrastructure, but we have to convert into economic gains. This linkage is to be developed, and I believe if this can be done in another 5 years, my submission is that Uttar Pradesh would be one of the front runner state in India. Already we have some advantage of national capital region. For example, Noida has become the mobile hub of the country. Rather, it is the international hub of mobile manufacturing in the country. And when we can truly, how I want to say, if you can truly want to convert this type of development into the economic gains, poverty reduction, employment generation, then whatever has been done, this should be linked with economic gains. For example, Uttar Pradesh has always been known for MSMEs, but unfortunately, MSME has been the worst casualty in Uttar Pradesh. Therefore, we know that we may not have the large investment, big factories, just like we are having Gujarat. Because Gujarat did initially. Gujarat has more entrepreneurial skill at the larger level than we are having in Uttar Pradesh. We should realize it. Every Gujarati is much better entrepreneur, are born entrepreneur, although all Indians are entrepreneur. One thing about Indians across the country is that we are born entrepreneurs, but among the entrepreneurs, Gujaratis are more entrepreneurial, are having more entrepreneurial skill than elsewhere, right? So that's why I will not compare it with some Western other neighboring state else that side, but Gujarat has a different model. And that's why, if you give them one opportunity, they will convert into 10 opportunities themselves. They will not wait for your, initiation. Simply, if you are getting some, scope, they expand the scope for themselves. That spirit is to be done here. I mean, through government initiatives, we should, develop the skill in Uttar Pradesh so that there is spillover effect, that is the scope for investment increases and the benefit of public investment multiplies. Otherwise, even this type of social sector development that has largely been done at the initiative of the government of India or the infrastructure development, it will lead us to nowhere, just like the surplus food grains we had in the 1960s. So with these things, I stop here, and I would welcome if there are some queries, some questions or some suggestions.
So, sir,
Yeah.
sir, one of my question is, do you think the prospects for growth and development will improve with the bifurcation of the state of Uttar Pradesh in three parts, Bundelkhand, Purvanchal and Central UP? Just your opinion.
I think, Dr. Shanti Rai, if we are going for that, one thing I did not mention that type of economic word, economies of scale that I have been mentioning indirectly. So we shall be losing the benefit of the economies of scale.
Okay.
Otherwise, also, these things are never done for economic reasons. Always such things are pursued for political expediency.
Sir, we have the experience of Uttarakhand and Jharkhand. So,
Again, that has been, for political reasons.
yes, there's no gain economically. Thank you, sir. Thank
Because
you, sir.
I tell you, Uttarakhand did something better, but Jharkhand could not do better.
Yeah.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, good evening, sir. I feel the way Uttar Pradesh is having very good infrastructure in terms of expressways and roadways and all that, the way development has taken a place, I feel it should give more and more avenues for generating employment, and it should attract more population. From the tourist point of view, I think we have lots of avenues lying in the state. So that area should be looked at. We can utilize our infrastructure as a strong base to enhance the financial situation of the state very, very effectively. That's what I personally feel.
I request Dr. Poonam Singh to introduce herself, please.
Yes, madam, I'm Dr. Poonam Singh. I'm principal at ICLS Motilal Jhunjhunwala College. I'm from Mumbai.
Very good evening. Very good evening.
Good evening, ma'am. It's nice pleasure meeting you all.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Poonam Singh ji. In fact, what you are suggesting, this is what I have been, suggesting earlier, that these things have been developed. But now the policy initiatives should be such that such, development should ultimately convert into economic gains.
Correct.
And tourism, I already, mentioned. Another area that we may have is MSME sector. And another area that I did not mention because that requires a lot of elaboration, that is, much structural change within the farm sector. That is required. So if these things are undertaken, not in phased manner, again, I would say, I'm not in favor of phased manner that you are doing in 20 years, 30 years. No, then all benefits are lost. You have to do in a very defined time framework, say 3 years, say maximum 5 years. Then you can, gain from this type of infrastructure. Otherwise, anyway.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Shanti Rai, is it there's going to be a question answer round first?
Yeah. Rupal, you want to ask something?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Good evening, sir. So thank you so much for such an informative session. So I must say that you have made us look at all the positive aspects of the economy. That makes me think that Uttar Pradesh economy is obviously rapidly progressing. So, but I wanted to ask as a student of economics that do we have to focus a lot on the widening gap between the richer section of the society and the poor section of society? And what could be the possible measures of it?
Can you please repeat the last line?
So what could be the possible measures for focusing on the like lessening the gap between the richer section
Okay.
of the society?
Okay. If you are reading me between the lines, and sometimes, very clearly that I have mentioned, I have never highlighted everything positive.
Yes.
See, uh, because, but I am not in favor of always talking negative. Whatever is positive, it should be definitely appreciated. But wherever is the lack, I have very clearly and specifically pointed out that these are the gaps, or such gaps need to be bridged. Number one. Number two, rich and poor. This divide has increased in the country and in Uttar Pradesh. Why? Wherever there was opportunity, and when there is a larger opportunity, it is always in favor of bridging the gap. That is, reducing the gap between the rich and poor. For example, in the current perspective, if social infrastructure has raised the quality of life of the poor households, but this is not the ultimate. The basics has been provided by the government, but the next job of the government is to make them self-sustaining in terms of income generation, and for that we have to make further effects, for which I say the period should not be more than 3 to 5 years. And for that, we should have the sectoral convergence and sectoral strategies for that. Because one, policy will not suit everyone. So, for example, for the rural area in, you can say, Bundelkhand, we require a different type of strategy than the rural area of Western Uttar Pradesh. So we should have that type of specific, policy framework, and this should be achieved in the least possible time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Harshita? Harshita, would you like
Yes,
to
ma'am.
ask? Yes.
Yes,
Put your
ma'am.
question. Yes.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
So thank you for such an informative session. My question to you is, sir, so what will be the effect of implementation of the farm laws on the farmers of Uttar Pradesh?
I think that is, I would say that there is no impact on the state economy, number one, and the farmers. It has been of some immediate benefit, that's it. And another thing, that it helped the party to come to the power, that's it. But that has not been the issue that will raise their overall or ultimate, you know, economic raising strategy. That cannot be. So we have to look into the dimension through which we can raise their income level in self-sustaining manner. This self-sustaining is very important and key to all types of my deliberations, and it should be the integral part of any policy strategy now.
Thank you, sir. So I have one more question,
Yes.
if it is allowed. So the pandemic has revised the debate on the government's policy of minimizing presence of public sector enterprises and creating new investment space for the private sector. So what is your opinion in that?
I think you are not observing the government's behavior for last 30 years. It has been a continuous process since 91. It is not only in the pandemic that it is there. Maybe you noticed only during the pandemic. So it is a continuous process. And even I believe when you are self-sustaining, then why should you take, some type of support? Ultimately, economy should be self-sustaining.
Thank you, sir.
So Manmohan Singh has already said while introducing reform that these reforms are irreversible. So privatization started means it will continue.
I think it is now integral part.
Yes,
That's
it is
why
integral part. It cannot be. Any other student, any queries, questions? Anyone? Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for presenting very clear and factual analysis of UP economy, especially the highlights of positive parameters for growth and development. And as sir, I agree with you that 90s has globalization has impacted UP economy in a negatively. So, and now we call UP a Bimaru state. So if we want to overcome from that status, big push is required, as you suggested, investment both in economic infrastructure as well as social infrastructure is a big push is required for that. Thank you, sir. I sincerely appreciate your stimulating speech, which is definitely going to add so much knowledge to the knowledge bank of our students. Thanks again, sir, for truly enlightening evening. Now I would invite Dr. Chaturvedi, our principal, to say a few words.
Sir, first of all, your lecture was really very, very informative, not only for economics student, but as being a geographer, I was thoroughly enjoying it completely, because you covered all the aspects of social, geographical, and economic, all the aspects of Uttar Pradesh. So I hope some of the students from the Department of Geography are also attending this, and they must have learned a lot from your lecture. And what I have seen when you were discussing about the topics, that you have covered from 1950 to till date, all the aspects, all the negative and positive aspects of Uttar Pradesh. So we just can't say that there are no possibilities or it is completely a backward state. No, we have a lot of opportunities. Only a good planning is required. A good management is required. A good administration is required. That is what I can make out from your speech and lecture. And it was really very informative. Thank you so much, sir. I want to thank personally Dr. Poonam Singh for coming and joining this session. I'm thankful to Dr. Manjula Upadhyay. She is Associate Professor in the Department of Economics, APCN Memorial Degree College. She's also there. Thank you, Manjula, for joining. Thank you, Dr. Shanti Rai, for inviting sir. And I want to hear more. So please keep inviting him and keep us, update about all the activities, what all is happening in not only in Uttar Pradesh, but in other aspects also. Thank you, Pragya. Thank you, Dr. Amina Hassan and your team for your technical support and for conducting it so well. Rupal, Harshita, I want that it should get over this pandemic and we can hear Sir Professor Manoj Agrawal live in the college. And we all know that this pandemic has changed our lives, and it is a very challenging time. And it is actually we have learned a lot of things. Even government has learned a lot of things, and still we are learning. All the sectors, they have been affected because of various challenges of pandemic, and we have to improve. We don't have option not to improve. If we'll not improve, again we'll face the same crisis again and again and again. So we have to learn and improve a lot. And I always feel that Uttar Pradesh is a very prosperous and very beautiful state. Only thing, a good planning is required. As I love my country, I love my state also, and I love my city. So I always appreciate, and I always love the geographical surroundings and everything. So I'm again thankful to everyone, especially, and last but not the least, I want to thank my management, Professor Nishi Pandey, my president, Ms. Zareen Vikaji, and Dr. Noor Khan. She is here and she's attending. I'm extremely thankful to them for always giving their best support to the college and to my students and faculty and me. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Chaturvedi. I will definitely invite Professor Agrawal to have interaction with our students, and we'll discuss UP economy as well as Indian economy. And I also welcome Dr. Noor Khan. Very good evening, ma'am. Now I invite Pragya Bhaut Srivastava to propose vote of thanks.
Good evening to all. It is a great honor and privilege for me to propose the formal vote of thanks on this occasion. I would like to thank the Almighty God for making today's occasion a resounding success. I express my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed guest speaker, Dr. M.K. Agarwal, Professor and Head Department of Economics, University of Lucknow, who, despite of his busy schedule, has taken time out to grace this occasion. I express my gratitude of thanks to Ms. Zareen Vikaji, President, Awadh Girls Degree College, Professor Nishi Pandey, Manager, Awadh Educational Society, Dr. Upma Chaturvedi, our principal, and Dr. Seema Singh Katiyar, Dean of Students, for their words of encouragement. I would like to thank Dr. Shanti Rai, Head Department of Economics and Head of various department and faculty for their valuable contribution. I would also like to thank Dr. Amina Hassan and her team, Khushi, Rupal, Disha, and Sugita, for assisting us with technical support. And I thank to all invitees, the member of media, for evincing interest in covering the event, and all good hearts who. The least, I thank all dear students for their cooperation in making this function a resounding success. I leave with the inspiring quote of Martin Luther King: "An individual has not started living until he rises above the confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concern of all humanity." Thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you once again to everyone for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Everyone,
Thank
It
you.
was a
A
pleasure
very good
being with
evening.
you all. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you, Poonamji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoyed the session. Yes, thanks
Thank
a lot. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.